I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be a tough video.
Everybody would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite.
I do not mean to fearmonger you in the slightest, but the data speaks for itself. Over this last year, I've been to many tech conferences, interviewed C-level executives, and done hours and hours of research to find out what on earth is going on with tech, specifically AI, and what impact it has on coders.
AI can already do all of the jobs that we as humans do.
It's the first technology that has no limit.
The people who were writing software, they're gone.
Learning to code is not what it once was, and especially if you're a student or even somewhat interested in tech, is it worth learning to code in 2025? And my response is, it's complicated, and here's why. So back in 2019, it was sufficient for you to go to university, learn Python, Java, do a couple of projects, and boom, you were given a six-figure job offer upon graduation. Internships were offered like candy, and the bar to get in was just so much easier than before. But now we have scenarios like this.
AI has replaced workers this year.
UPS is laying off 12,000 people because UPS is now testing artificial intelligence.
Big tech companies announcing they will be eliminating more than 50,000 jobs.
One of the hardest calls that I've had to make.
When it impacts people, it's hard, particularly for a company like Google.
And at first you could blame economic correction. Like back in the pandemic, they overhired people and now the market is correcting. And that was true up until the end of 2024. Now in 2025, AI has significantly altered the landscape of tech and coding. And companies like Salesforce and Meta are actually leading this shift. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff recently announced that the company won't be hiring any additional software engineers this year, since they've seen a 30% productivity boost from their AI tool Agentforce. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta CEO, said that in 2025,
we are going to have an AI that can be a mid-level engineer. A lot of the code in our apps is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers.
They will have AI that is equivalent to a mid-level engineer. So not a basic AI, not an AI that is equivalent to an entry-level engineer who just writes code. No, that's like ChatGPT. This is going to be an AI that is equivalent to someone with 2 to 4 years of experience at a top tech company like Meta. And that AI will go ahead and start writing code for their applications. Not only that, it'll start writing code to build other AI. So it's like AI going on AI. Talk about replacing software engineers. On a personal level, I recently spoke with a startup founder who uses AI tools like Cursor for front-end development. He told me their whole software engineering team consists of 2 people. Him and one other engineer who they actually ended up getting rid of. And they are 10 times more productive without hiring actual people because of Cursor. And that conversation really got me thinking about the value of knowing how to code nowadays. Because with Cursor and the AI it has, you can upload a design of a front end. Just like that, you can get the code that you need. Instead of dealing with humans who might not understand requirements or have in-depth knowledge of JavaScript or TypeScript, when it comes to AI, there's no problems with that. They are way smarter. They have no salaries you have to pay, and there's no human nonsense like sick days or PTO. And honestly, if you think about it, if an AI can build 80% of your product for a fraction of the cost, why wouldn't you as a company owner use it? And that's actually what companies have started doing. In the last quarter, there was a report that 25% of Google's code is now AI written. They have tools like Code, part of their Gemini AI model, which help them automate code tasks, refactor code, and make developing new features super quick. In fact, I recently interviewed the COO of GitHub at the annual GitHub conference, GitHub Universe, and he mentioned that you can code in languages like English or Spanish. Through the use of GitHub Copilot, all you have to do is write prompts in your language like English, Spanish, French, and Copilot will generate corresponding code suggestions. It takes in the prompt that you have, gives you the answers, and actually integrates it into your code base based off of the knowledge that it has. In fact, after my conversation with him, I can concretely tell you it is not worth learning to code the same way we've been doing it in the past, especially at like big tech companies like Amazon, for example, with AWS. The developers there use Code Whisperer, which is an AI coding assistant that uses machine learning models to provide code suggestions, help with API usage, and even suggest best practices for the exact AWS environment you're dealing with. But it's not just top tech companies. AI tools have changed developers and coders all across the board. Platforms like Redis can create fully functional projects from a single prompt. Tools like Tab9 can give AI code suggestions. Codex translates natural language into functional code. Kite offers intelligent auto-completion and documentation. And these are all tools available to the average Joe. And now I know what you're thinking. It seems really scary. There are so many AI tools out there. Is it actually worth learning to code in 2025? And my answer is 100,000,000% yes. But there is a huge caveat. Every time a new technology comes around, it feels like the world is ending for some people, and it kind of does, because if you don't adapt, there is no career for you. But if you do adapt, you don't just survive, you thrive. And the same thing is happening with AI and coding. If you don't trust me, take this for example, the calculator. When it was first introduced, some people argued that it would make basic level math skills obsolete. Yet, instead of replacing mathematicians, it became a tool to allow us to do bigger and more complex problems. Now we have some insane math problems that have more letters than numbers in them, and the same thing actually even happened with the internet. Sure, some traditional physical jobs disappeared, but it opened up entirely new industries. Web development, e-commerce, digital marketing, and new high-skill opportunities came out. And it's a repeated trend. Every time a new technology came out in history, it replaced low-skill labor with high skill. And the same thing is happening with AI. In the 2010s, if you knew how to code, you got a job in tech. But now in 2025, we have literal 5-6-year-olds who know how to code.
Increment the count by 1. It's pretty basic, but I like.
So it's not impressive anymore. You need to have a high value skill. You need to be advanced, and you need to learn how to code with AI. And yes, I can hear you. I know exactly what your next question is. How can it even be worth learning to code even with AI if AI is gonna potentially take over? And for that answer, I have a little history lesson I want to display. In the 1940s, programming or software engineering meant feeding punch cards into giant machines, where every instruction had to be manually encoded. There was no Java, no Python at this time. By the 1950s, high-level programming languages like Fortran and COBOL came out, allowing engineers to actually write human-readable code. I still don't like those languages, but that's a different point. And actually at this point marked the start of modern-day software engineering. Then fast forward to the 1980s, 1990s, object-oriented programming was introduced. C++, Java, and integrated development environments, IDEs, made software development more collaborative. Then the internet changed everything in the 2000s, allowing global collaboration and cloud computing. It also allowed for more developers to enter into the market because internet-based companies needed developers to grow. Today in the 2020s, with AI, we're witnessing just another leap. Just like in the 1950s, if you didn't learn Fortran and you decided to continue with punch cards, you were replaced by the high-skill Fortran developers. In the 1990s, if you were like, I love Fortran so much, and you decided not to learn Java, you were replaced by the high-skill Java developers. Now in the 2020s, if you say, I love Python, I love Java, but I'm scared of AI, I don't know if I want to learn AI. Well, my friend, the definition of high skill has once again changed, and if you don't learn AI, you will be replaced by someone who does. So even though Zuckerberg and the Salesforce CEO said that there's going to be AI in their companies, the only people that are going to get replaced are those who don't learn how to use those AI. And then their skills become obsolete, and then it's bye-bye for them. So now that we established it is worth learning to code with AI in 2025, I'm going to give you the exact 5-step roadmap that I would start right now. Step 1. Build your foundations. Start by mastering the basics of coding with beginner-friendly languages like Python or JavaScript. Platforms like CodyTech or FreeCodeCamp to learn are excellent, but the goal is mainly project-based learning. Do not get stuck in tutorial hell, because if you don't actually build something, you learned nothing. But if you're an absolute beginner and you pretty much have no idea how to even start with these things, check out CS50, which is a free course by Harvard in which they teach you the foundations of computing through Scratch. Step 2, AI integration. Once you get a little decent at coding, the next step is to level up and start using AI to become a faster, more efficient coder. For me, the first AI tool that I used was Copilot when I was doing a software engineering project in which I had to develop a Pomodoro application. I would create a function header and then I would write comments like, fill out this function for me, and it would do it right away. And this was actually back in 2021 before like ChatGPT was a big thing. So I was actually like mind boggled by how good like this worked.
Wow. That was pretty impressive, even for myself, I'm not gonna lie. When I used Copilot in college, it wasn't this good. This is actually pretty insane now.
But now my workflow is much more advanced. I use a variation of different tools, GPT, Gemini, but truly, I think for beginners, start with Copilot and assess what skills you have and what demands you have, because there are certain tools that are a little more front-end focused than a little more back-end focused. You can just see where you stand with that when you're mastering your basics. But if you don't know specifically where you even want to start out with Copilot, just ask ChatGPT. I'm not even joking. Learn AI through AI. Step 3, understand advanced concepts. So once you understand how to use AI and how to code, you now need to understand how AI fundamentally works. Take certain generative AI courses, whether that be on Coursera or Udemy. Andrew from Stanford has excellent courses on AI and machine learning on Coursera. Fundamentally, you need to understand how these models work and what their limitations are. Yes, AI can mess up. It can mess up horrendously. For example, if you ask ChatGPT the question, how many R's are in the word raspberry? It'll say there are only 2 R's. But if you actually count it for yourself, there are 3 R's. So why does this happen? Every time you type a prompt into these models, they do 2 big things: tokenizing and pattern recognition. Tokenizing is when you split up the word that you type. Like for example, raspberry, it'll split it up into rasp and berry, because dealing with smaller things is easier than dealing with larger complex things. Step 2 is pattern recognition, and because berry itself is a recognizable word, like blackberry, blueberry, strawberry, even berry itself is a recognizable word on its own, it'll be like, oh hey, berry, looking at berry, there are only 2 R's, and because it's just analyzing the second token that we have within raspberry. And understanding the limits of AI is so important. It can help you understand AI itself, but also you'll be mentally assured that AI cannot fully take over the industry overnight. Because if the models are making dumb errors like this, imagine having your model run your trillion-dollar company. Like, that's virtually impossible. There's a reason software engineers get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you also still need to recognize that the model is effective enough to replace certain software engineers, like the low-skill ones, but the high-skill ones who actually understand AI are not going anywhere. Step 4, apply AI to real-world coding projects. Now, we need to use our knowledge and put it into practice, and you can do that by trying to solve real-world problems, by using tools such as TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Hugging Face to experiment more with generative AI. Let me give you a great AI project for you to understand. You can create a personalized movie recommendation system using NLP, natural language processing, and machine learning. Step 1, gather data such as a movie lens dataset, which contains movie ratings and user reviews. Step 2, pre-process the data by transforming text using techniques like tokenizing or removing stop words. Step 3, use a pre-trained transformer model from Hugging Face, such as BERT, to fine-tune it for sentiment analysis or text classification. Step 4, apply collaborative filtering to match similar users and content to generate recommendations. Step 5, build a web interface using a framework like Flask or Django, where users can input movie preferences, rate suggestions, and see personalized recommendations. As users interact with the system, it will naturally learn and improve based on their feedback, so it'll enhance the user experience. And just like that, you put your knowledge into practice and you have a coding project to show for it. Step 5, continuously learn. The industry is rapidly changing and you need to keep up with everything that is going on. Right now, it's winter 2025. I don't know how long everything that I'm saying in this video will remain true. You need to keep up with a few of these emerging trends, whether that be within AI, generative AI, machine learning, NLP, or even on the business side of integrating AI into workflows by using tools like Zapier, or even on the quantum computing side, like Google recently announced its new chip, which is eons faster than certain supercomputers now. And even with all this AI stuff, there's going to be cybersecurity for AI, which is emerging. And cybersecurity as a whole is an excellent field that's growing by 35% in this upcoming decade. So you need to keep up and find out what's going on. And to help with this, obviously there are a lot of news sources, a lot of just general media that you can consume to keep up with this. But if it helps, I'm planning on launching a newsletter pretty soon to help everyone keep up with what's going on in tech and also just provide a little more value than what I can do in a YouTube video. So if you're interested in this newsletter, read the description down below and you can probably find a link for it there. Well, that's about all I have in this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're interested in what software engineers actually do on a day-to-day basis, you might want to watch this video right here.